Welcome to Taking It to the Streets. I'm your host, Andy Goldman from sunny St. Pete, Florida. This is the show where we take it to the streets, knowing if we don't, the streets will take it to us. Welcome to Taking It to the Streets. It's Andy Goldman, of course, joined by the great Rich Beem. In a moment, this show is brought to you by Wrightwood Medical, www.wrightwoodmedical.com. And that is your leader in refurbished medical equipment. You can reach them at 773-848-7100 or online, of course, www.wrightwoodmedical.com. Little favor to ask, as our audience has, believe it or not, Beemer, gotten past the 12-person level. So we have to ask for things now of our voluminous audience, which we appreciate. And folks, if you wouldn't mind, this is an internet thing. Rich and I are just a little too old, but we're wise enough to understand the game that is the internet. Please hit the subscribe button, bottom left of your desktop. Hey, we've got to do it. I've been counseled by this that we've gotten to a certain level, so forgive me for there'll be no strings attached. I'm for those of you who watch this wondering, are you going to get junk mail? Are you going to get responses from a newsletter you could care less about? The answer is no.
We're going to haunt you. We're going to chase you down. We are going to sit there and just send you random emails like every day at like 2:01 a.m.
Well, think about the crowd we've got. The should I stay or should I go from the class.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they're worried when they hit that subscribe button. So, folks, please, of course.
God, I hate those things where you just get the junk email from everybody.
The spam.
And then you say, I don't want to get these anymore. So you unsubscribe. And then somebody else picks you up. It's like you unsubscribe for one person, and you get three more. What the hell?
Correct. All right, Beemer, is it me or is this just been one hell of a PGA season filled with drama, filled with incredible tournaments? Do you think that this was a ho-hum season or I just think it's playoffs. There's great memories. It almost feels like the last week of camp where we start doing the campfire stories of what great memories we had this past summer. Feels like meatballs, but it does. The memory of Rose taking on McIlroy at the Masters sticks out in my brain. Of course, JJ's putt at the U.S. Open sticks out. The arrival of Gotterup, who hadn't really seen a lot of links golf before he got to the Scottish, that sticks in my brain. Henge, your guy from Taking It to the Streets. Folks, rewind the tape. Beemer gave us this great story. Yeah. I talked about it last week. Beemer gave a great story, played with it a little bit at Quail Hollow. He goes out and wins this last week on the DP Euro Tour. I mean, Beemer, did you think this kid, where do we go from here with Henge?
I don't know. That's, here's the interesting part. I was just looking at the Ryder Cup standings to kind of see where he fell into the mix of it all. And I think he's now up to 14th. Is it 14th or 16th? I can't remember which. I want to say 14th, but he's got no shot at getting picks. I think it's just one of those years where you've got so many automatic qualifiers, and then the guys that haven't qualified, you have 6 guys that qualify, and the other 6 that need to be picked. I mean, they're the guys you want on your team. I mean, they're guys that they've been there, they've done that. You've got a little bit of new blood, but guys that have proven themselves already. But I don't think it'll take much for Marco to announce himself a little bit more. I would assume that since he's going to finish in the top 10 of the DP World earnings by the end of the year, that he's going to opt to come over to the U.S. because the top 10 of the DP World Tour that have no access to PGA Tour get a PGA Tour card. I would assume, even with a young family, that he's going to go down that route, as most guys do, because the riches that are involved with it. If you have a win like he's had on the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, now we're talking. So I would imagine he's coming over here, but I don't think he's quite going to be Ryder Cup material this year. But it's interesting that a guy wins twice in the DP World Tour and it's on the outside looking in these days. It's he's a talent.
Is the same to be said of, unfortunately, Gotterup? Is it the same resume?
Yeah, probably. Again, you're talking about two guys that have kind of kind of come just announce themselves to the world. I mean, I knew Marco Penja's name. I knew Chris Gotterup had won the PGA Tour, but I couldn't tell you much about him. And now you kind of sit there and go, man, these guys are talented, and they're not afraid, and they can bring the goods when it needs to be done. So I think that there's a lot of a turnover in the game going on. I think that it's going to kind of happen over the next 5 years. I mean, look at Ben Griffin. I mean, what would we talk about Ben Griffin at the beginning of this year? We didn't really know much about. He quit game of golf completely, and then reemerged a couple of seasons now, and won twice this year. Won in a team event and won at the Colonial. So listen, there's just so many guys that are just ready to break through that we haven't even beginning to talk about. They're all just sitting there hanging out on the Corn Ferry Tour in college golf, and they're ready to get better and say, listen, I'm here to stay.
When you think about this last week at the BMW, to me, as a 12 index, those are the hardest shots in golf. Just off the green in the rough. What Harry Hall did was incredible. I never thought I would see it again, much less Scottie trumping it with his incredible flop shot. That, folks, that's a flop shot. Don't undermine what Hall did as well, because Hall's arguably even tougher because he's closer to the hole than Scottie. I mean, they're both impossible shots. Beemer, first off, those two shots. Secondly, what's the hardest shot in golf? Now, the guys that I know that are good players, that are very good players, they seem to always come up with the same one, about 65, 70 yards in a bunker.
Oh, that's by far the hardest one. It's probably even less than that. It's probably anywhere from 50 to 70 yards bunker shot. That's the worst. Where those guys were, and I didn't quite see Harry's, but I was told on air that where Bob McIntyre hit his tee shot on 17 was in the general area of it. And when you kind of get to places like that, it's all about how good the lie is. And with that grass this last week, rarely did I see a lie that was super awful. It's just, for whatever reason, the grass was long, but it wasn't thick. So it got trampled down very easily. And so guys could draw some decent lies in the rough. And that's where both Scottie Scheffler and I would assume that Harry Hall had. Again, you still got to execute. And I could see, just knowing Scottie Scheffler, the shot that he had on a Thursday was tough but doable. But add in Sunday, and you're leading by one. You got the guy that's chasing you. He's just over the green. Scottie actually went and looked at his lie, went to look at Bob's lie. But the thing that stood out more than anything else to me was the calmness that Scottie looked like when he walked up there and looked at the chip, looked from behind the hole, and then walked back. It just looked like it was any other day. And that's, I think, what makes him so great, is that he doesn't seem to get anxious. He doesn't seem to lose his focus. He doesn't lose his cadence. He just is the same person from Monday morning to Thursday morning to Sunday afternoon. There's no difference. And it's remarkable, and he got up there and I could just sense that, this guy's probably gonna hit this thing pretty close. Now, making it was over the top, but just sitting there watching him go through the motions of everything, you're just like, golly, what's going to bother this guy? What's going to get his dander up? What's going to eat at him? I've seen it a few times, but it's getting to be fewer and far between. That's for sure.
How small of an effect does a caddy have on a professional golfer's round? Where I'm going with that is, Ted's been gone on Scottie's bag. He goes out, he wins the BMW. There was that issue with Harris English's caddy, I believe, in England before the Open, and he was leading deep stretch. We saw Lee Westwood play well with his girlfriend, Helen, holding the bag. I mean, I don't want to be glib about this, but I'm just being honest. Does it matter?
Of course it matters. Absolutely it matters. 100% it matters. Because you're also going to then find guys that, if their normal caddy takes off, then they're left to fill the void. They've got to do a lot of things themselves. Like my caddy that I have 14 years, Bill Heim, still one of my closest friends. It's like every time that I went out there with him, it was like he made my life so easy. No, granted, we were just a great partnership, and I don't think that he probably did more than the other players caddies do. I mean, Billy just made my life easy, and it was great. I'll never I can never thank him enough for doing that. What I do think though is that with certain players, the caddy doesn't necessarily have to mean much, but it's not about actually the shot itself. It's the conversations in between hand. It's the talking to. I mean, the caddy's not just there to carry the bag. The caddy's there to be a confidant. He's there to lift you up. He's there to kick you in your ass when you're down on yourself. He does so many. He wears so many more different hats, and so I just think that some players can be a little more high maintenance, want a little bit more out of the caddies. But I think uh, in Scottie's arena, he just needs to make sure that the guy on the bag is a good person that they can sit there and have a nice, rational conversation about. The caddy is very competent. I've been on Chris Kirk's bag for many years, and so they'd probably known each other, and it wasn't a massive undertaking for him to get in Scottie's bag. But in saying that, again, it's not just about the shot itself. It's not about this net. It's about walking, you know, 280 yards down the fairway and having somebody to chat to keep your mind off of what is going on sometimes. And so caddies serve a different purpose than just carrying the bag. They wear a lot of different hats, and some guys lean on them differently. And I think Scottie he's got such a great routine that he can have me caddy for him and it wouldn't matter. It seems like just to hit the shot, but again, the conversations, the chatter, down the fairway and things like that, and just making sure that you got somebody that knows how to handle the situation and things like that, and you're not sitting there worried about it.
Beemer, any thoughts about who you like, don't like going into the Ryder Cup as far as the coaches' selections that Keegan Bradley will have to make? You have any strong vibes about how that's exactly? It's really is tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Hege's going to have a much more difficult time than Luke Donald is. I think Luke Donald kind of has his guys picked out pretty much to a point where I think he's not going to have to get too deep. So, like, if I'm looking at Luke Donald's going down, Sepstrak is going to definitely be there. Ludwig Over, he's definitely be there. I'd be shocked if Victor Hovland is not there. And then he's got Matt Fitzpatrick. He's got two guys to decide between Rasmus Hasgard, Matt Wallace, who are both in the top 12, or does he look somewhere down the list? Marco Penge, 14th right now. But I'm sorry, John Rahm is in there too. So he's going to have to pick John Rahm. And I'm sorry, never mind. Everything I said is right at the window. He's going to pick John Rahm and he's going to pick Tyrrell Hatton. Tyrrell hadn't qualified. Okay, never mind. Good. So basically, he's got one guy to pick. It's going to be Rasmus Højgaard or Matt Wallace. I think the other 11 are set. I think it's a piece of cake for him. Now, looking at the U.S. team.
And you don't put Penge in the same group with Rasmus Højgaard and Matt Wallace.
Right. No, I can't say that I don't, but those guys are ranked 8th and 11th, and Marco's down at 14th. Granted, his body of work hasn't been as much, so I do think Marco's got a great shot at being there. I think it'd be a tough phone call for Luke Donald to not have him. To say, listen, you're not on the team. I can't say that he's not going to be on the team. I don't know. It could be between those three. I would almost think he may not have enough experience, but I don't know. I don't know what Luke Donald's thinking. I don't know how much he's talked to him. So that he's kind of more of an unknown. So on our side, we got Justin Thomas is number 7. Then we got guys. We got Colin Morikawa 8th, who's struggled a little bit. Ben Griffin, who I think will be on the team. Maverick McNeely, I think, will be on the team. And then Keegan Bradley, I don't think he's going to take himself. I don't think he's going to play. Now he's got to decide, who's he going to pick? Is he going to pick Sandberg, Cantlay, Young, Novak? It's just a bunch of guys. Well, Gotterup's 20th. So again, he doesn't have any experience. You have to, you can't just say that these guys that have won and that are playing well. You got to look at the experience too, because when you stand on that first tee box in the Ryder Cup, There's no place to run and hide. If you get nerdy, this is it, man. You're in that cauldron, and you better understand exactly what your mind and body are going to do. And the only way you can get there is by I think putting yourself in that cauldron a few times. Major championships is one of them, and we're seeing what Gotterup can do. That's one time. I think that Keegan needs to lean on guys that have played in the Ryder Cup before, because also Bethpage Black is going to be just a different animal. It's going to be a different animal. You're going to have the people are going to be louder. They're going to be more vocal. And listen, I think if the U.S. side struggles a little bit, they're going to hear some of the boos. I mean, listen, nobody is safe from those fans, man. They can turn on their own quickly. So I don't know. I guess he just kind of from experience.
Yeah, I don't know why Ben Griffin is thought of as a walkover, no-brainer compared to Gotterup. That's, I guess, my problem.
I guess because he's won twice this year. He's
one of them
faced out.
is at the Zurich. One of them.
I know. It was in a team event, and again, that's where also Andrew Novak comes into the equation as well. But again, listen, I don't know how to justify Chris Gotterup other than the fact that he hadn't done anything up until the Scottish Open. Again, you're looking for guys that are hot and they're playing well right now. Is he a guy that
he's going to Eastlake, Rich.
He's going to Eastlake.
I think he's playing pretty damn well.
Well, there's more things to it than that, Andy. There's a lot more to things to that than he's playing well. I think that he's playing well, but again, I'm not going to pick him over Cantlay or Morikawa or Brian Harmon, guys that have played in it before. There's no chance. There's no chance. I'm sorry.
We get to our picks because I want to stress a concept that can't.
Are we picking Ryder Cup this time, or are we picking?
Well, no. Let's play out the Tour Championship, and give me the three guys you like this weekend at Eastlake.
Well, I'm gonna go be kind of like you, but I'm gonna go. I mean, in all reality, Tommy Fleetwood, McIlroy, and Scheffler are the three guys that I would pick right off the get go. Just because I just don't understand how many guys are going to be able to beat Scottie as long as he's in the right frame of mind. I think Rory is he just came off of 3 weeks doing nothing. He got a taste of decent golf last week. He's going to want to win, quote unquote, the FedEx Cup for another time. So he's going to get amped up beyond belief. I mean, there's a host of guys, but I would have to pick Scheffler, McIlroy, and Fleetwood. Now, again, there's a lot of guys in the top 20 that I can pick. I don't think the winner's going to come out of the top 20 or past the top 20, but you never know. It's a 30 guy. You got 30 guys to pick. I mean, a guy like Sungjae Im, who loves this golf course, he can go out there and light it up if he gets hot this week. So it's a very difficult tournament to pick. But I think you got to hang with the favorites on this week. I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of field bets that are going to be extraordinarily in your favor. The golf course is going to play extremely long. It's supposed to rain a ton this week. It takes the guys that drive the golf ball very well. Those three guys drive the golf ball very well. And you're going to have to give yourself a bunch of looks. With those guys, give themselves a bunch of looks, man. I think that the way that it all sets up, even though any one of the 30 could win, it's hard to see past, like I said, anybody in the top 20. Harris English, maybe, Georgia guy. But I don't know, man. I don't like this format. I don't like the fact that again, I'm not picking anybody, but Sungjae Im could win the FedEx Cup this year. It's like, wait a second. He's not going to win the most money. He's not going to take the whole barrel of money because Scottie Scheffler's already done that. I think he's already taken home $23 million or something like that out of all of it because of the bonuses and things like that. But man, oh man, to say that the FedEx Cup champion of 2025, and again, no offense, could be Chris Gotterup. This means no offense, but that's the way they're doing it. That's the way the reality of the situation is. So I don't know. The PGA Tour is they've lost their collective minds. They just didn't make it a lot easier. And there's a simple way of doing that.
Right. Well, do you like it more this way, Beemer? Do you like it more when they came in with, allowing the first three guys to have 10 strokes on the field?
I would rather see some bonus, some edge going to the guys that have outperformed the rest of the field. because is now the FedEx Cup a body of work over 1 year, or is it just one tournament where, again, in NASCAR, when you do anything, there's a staggering, like, how did you qualify? How did you get here? Well, my car was the fastest around the track, throughout the year. You're starting number one. I'm very surprised that they've gone away, because at least it gave the guys a little bit more. It's going to make them the finish a little bit more realistic of what the season looked like. Scottie Scheffler goes out and shoots even par this week and doesn't finish in the top 10. That seems a little hokey to me. There's a lot of different ways of looking at it, but I just think the way they've set up the FedEx Cup is more about the body of work throughout the year, not just one tournament at the very end when 30 guys tee it up.
I got you.
I mean, again, because, and again, this goes back to the playoffs. Again, though, Patriots go 18-0, and they're going up against the Giants, but they don't win it all. They were clearly the better team, but they weren't the better team that one time. I don't know. There's 100 ways of looking at it, but I think when it comes to the way that we perceive golf, and a lot of other things, and again, if Scottie goes out and has a really rough week, if you get 1, 2, and 3 as Jacob Brinchman, Harry Hall, and Chris Gotterup, no offense to these guys at all, it does make the sport look a little silly. I'm sorry for saying that, but I think it does. But that's the way that it set it up, and those guys have every opportunity to go out there and claim this thing. And good luck on them. If that's what happens, go get them.
But I'm surprised you said that, because I do see it a little differently than that. I do see it. I totally get what you're saying about the format, and you're not alone. There's a lot of people that don't like the format. But I'm from the school that, the difference in a PGA golf for top to bottom is what? 72 is your number 145 guy, and 70 is your number one player in the world. So there's only a 2-stroke difference between the best and the worst, so to speak. Now we're cut this field down to 30 through 2 qualifiers that were honest qualifiers in the St. Jude and the BMW. So it's not like Gotterup, Akshay, Sung Jae, these bottom, the 25 to 30 crowd. I look at those guys as world-class studs that can you win this thing.
Again, we're talking about guys, though, that have accumulated enough points during the season. They started off in a pretty good position at the beginning of the top 70. They didn't have, there's only one guy, I think, that started with that didn't make it at top 70, or that started outside the top 30 going into it and made it all the way in there. That's Harry Hall, I think.
Victor almost screwed it up yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And so, again, I'm not certain about that fact, but I know that there wasn't the top 30, the way that they started in Memphis. It would have taken some really poor golf for somebody that was in the top 30 to play the way out. And I'm sure that somebody did. I'm sure that there's a couple of people that did throughout that whole process. But you're talking about most of the guys had a great body of work before that, before the playoffs started. So they set themselves up quite handily. Look at Rory. Rory didn't even play in the first.
I think Michael Kim and Pendrith might have played themselves out of it from the top. I think those are 2 guys that start out.
Yeah, again, I'm not 100% sure on that, but it wasn't a lot. And again, how did they do in the first place? They set themselves up by starting off the playoffs in the top 30. And once you're in that top 30, man, you're golden. And it's kind of hard to have a ton of movement outside of that. So maybe that's the way I should look at it. Listen, I'm trying to jockey for position to finish in the top 30 so I have a chance to win it all. Again, if the PGA Tour sold it to me that way, then maybe I'd think about that. But they haven't been selling it to me that way. They've been selling it more about, hey, Scottie Scheffler's number one and this and that. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that they took away the 10-shot starting Scottie Scheffler. I was shocked at that. I'm like, oh, what? Like, everybody's got a chance of winning this? Man, again, it's so bizarre. And they've retooled it, they've rehashed it, they've rethought it, and there's a simple way of doing it, and that's basically, and to keep the same format, keep the 70, 50, 30. Keep all that. But the winner of the FedEx Cup is going to be the one player that has the cumulative score for all 3 tournaments. So right now, Scottie Scheffler would be dominating because he finished second and first. Tommy Fleetwood would be in good position because he finished runner-up or third, and he finished fifth.
Not bad. Yeah.
But you have to listen, in order to win it, you have to play in all 3 events. Rory McIlroy would be out. He would be out because he didn't play in all 3 tournaments. He could still make a chunk of money, but for where he finishes on the FedEx Cup was at the end of the year, but he can't win the whole thing. So I just think that there's an easy way of doing this. So Scottie Scheffler, he'd have a massive lead right now. Why? Because he's outplayed everybody in the FedEx Cup playoffs already, right? He's absolutely kicked everybody's butt. And if he would, no matter what the starting stroke is, he's earned that. He's earned that for the first 2 events. So there's a way of doing it. And I just can't understand why the PGA Tour, since they went from a 4-event thing and then down to just a 3, they've got to rethink this. They've got to make this easy for everybody to understand. And it's pretty easy for everybody to understand. Like, listen, you still have to play well enough to move from the top 70 to the top 50. And then for the top 50 to top 30. But what we're going to do is those top 30, we're going to follow the scores. And the lowest scores coming out of those 2 events, that's what they're going to start out at. Some guys might start off 12 over par. Guess what? You didn't play well.
How bad does it kill the TV audience, though, the way you're pitching right now? I mean, let's think this through. I mean, obviously, if a guy comes in like Scottie,
I would think that it would take a little bit of explaining, but what hasn't TV done to explain what's going on? The 10 under, like, how many times have we seen somebody tees off a 10 under par? I mean, again, it's happened, I think, 4 tournaments in a row, and I thought it was actually pretty good. After a while, you get used to it. When you first come out, oh, it's stupid. Then you kind of think about it, like, what, this guy has outplayed everybody, right? He deserves it. He's earned it. Guys can still play well enough to kind of push him out, but you got to play off the wheel because he's not going to back down. Again, though, it's not going to ruin TV. It's just going to make it. It's going to make it a little bit like the starting positions because, and I'd have to look and see what these guys, what the top 30 guys have done over the last 2 weeks. But I'd say collectively, most of them played okay. But
what you're saying makes sense. After the first probably day of understanding the math of the plus 10, the plus 8, the plus 6, whatever it is, it's feasible if you play great. That's been a theme,
Yeah.
I think, that you have talked about for months with me about being great. An example that would have been yesterday with Scheffler. He was down 4 strokes going into the round against Bobby Mack. He beat him by 2. There's 6 strokes right there, folks. It can happen. Again, you have to be great. But if you are, then you deserve the spoils of your victory. It can be done. It can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, again, there's ways of thinking about it and doing it. But again, if you want to have a cumulative way of going about it, I just think that this is the one that makes the most sense. It's just like have everybody playing the same 3 events, and whatever the cumulative scores of those are, that's just the way that it goes. Because everybody has to play the same 3 tournaments, different weather conditions, possibly this and that. But I mean, like, listen, now you're gonna get a fair and equitable return on it. Everybody's had the same challenge. Who handle it the best.
This episode of Taking It to the Streets is brought to you by Wrightwood Medical, the leader in used and refurbished medical equipment. Wrightwood specializes in ultrasound equipment, but can also be your vendor of choice when sourcing lower cost alternatives for your operating room suites, scanning the entire medical spectrum. From single physician offices to larger hospitals, Wrightwood is the lower cost solution for your everyday medical equipment needs, and all of Wrightwood's equipment comes with warranty. You can reach Wrightwood directly at www.wrightwoodmedical.com. That is with a W, WRIGHTWOOD medical.com. or 773-848-7100. Again, 773-848-7100. If it's used medical equipment, it's Rightwood Medical.
A little different with Beemer, since we're not going to see as much moving forward. Then we'll see it next golf season, of course. We'll see at the Ryder Cup. Gotta ask you, from where you sit, from the places you've been, the people you hear talk, how far, if ever, are we to seeing the LIV and the PGA? I know you're not much about talking about it. I won't talk about the LIV, but I'm just wondering, are we ever going to see these two in the next 2 years? Will there be, do you think that LIV will dissolve? Will the merger take place? I mean,
I don't think it's going to dissolve. I don't think that they're going to merge anytime soon. I know that both new CEOs, they have similar backgrounds in NFL. I think actually they went to college together, from what I understand. There's something about how they went to college, and I think that their lives have been intertwined since college. And I think they both were recruited out of the NFL, but I don't see enough, or hear enough, I should say. That's probably a better word. I don't hear enough from either side that makes it seem like it's going to happen. I think there's a couple of big hiccups that folks probably don't know about. I'm sure I don't know about one of them. I kind of understand what a big hiccup is, but I don't see them coming together. I just don't see it. And I think the world is fine if they don't come together. Listen, again, these guys, some of them got sold a bad sale of goods. Some of them thought they were going to get world ranking points. They're going to fight like hell and get the world ranking points. And that never happened. And once you leave, like, again, I've said this before, it's like me taking my company that I built up from scratch, and I'm very proud of it, and I sell it. So I leave everything behind, and I have to go work for this new company. It's not like I can leave that new company and come back and hang out at the old company's picnic. Company picnic. That's just not how it works, man. I'm part of this new company, this new organization, and I'm supporting them. I'm part of them. And why would I go out and all of a sudden trash the old corporation? Because the old corporation put my name on it. It made me a lot of money. And I used that to get more money from this new corporation. Listen, they knew what they're getting into. I'm sorry, but you can't just leave the PGA Tour and expect them to welcome you back with open arms because, oh, listen, I gave you so much time and effort. Well, yeah, but you wouldn't. You signed a massive contract with these other guys, and you want more. That's not how the world works.
no.
I don't think that the PGA Tour is wrong in the simple fact that, like, no, you guys can't come back right now. No, it's not. It's not feasible. And the fact that they, I think that the head of the PIF, he wants to have some control over it, which I think would be very dangerous. I just don't think it's going to happen, Andy. I don't see where there's a way where it does work. I thought at one point, maybe in 5 years' time, we might be able to see it, but it doesn't sound like it. I think the LIV is going to probably start taking off a new life form. I think you're going to see a lot of younger kids that are poached from going to the PGA Tour to going out and playing on LIV. I think there's a lot of great storylines. I think there's a lot of ways you can wrap your head around it. Especially from the team aspect things of it. But I don't see LIV going in a different direction. And I don't think the PGA Tour is going to welcome have any open doors for these guys coming back anytime soon.
Interesting. All right, here's my angle for East Lake. I shared with everybody last week about my theories about a weighted round versus a non-weighted round. And I think if you were watching pretty closely, you saw that there really is a difference between a weighted round and a non-weighted round. You are a different animal if you excel in the weighted round scenario versus the non-weighted round. Nothing was more weighted than what Scottie Scheffler did yesterday. Nothing. He was 4 strokes down when he teed off. All eyeballs on him and Bobby Mack the entire way. And he pulled up on 18 and he chips in and he wins the tournament by 2 strokes. It's the definition of a weighted round. He's a different animal than someone that teed off and is just playing for placing 8 strokes off the lead at 9:30 a.m. Believe it or not.
I'm going to take it a step further this week. A little contrary to Rich. Bill Haas, I believe, did win this thing many years ago. There have been some relative no-name-ish kind of guys that have won the Tour Championship, and it's not a foregone conclusion. I'm of the belief if you're there, you're great. Sure, Scottie's better than you.
Absolutely. I agree. You said that. He's
Who's the best?
I'm having a great year.
Yeah, Tommy Fleetwood's playing unbelievably. The list goes on. They deserve to be where they are. But here's where I'm going with it. Another thing I love in the metrics of following the lines and things like that, along with a weighted game, is recency bias. The public will only remember what happened literally yesterday, the last round, blah, blah, blah. I got 3 guys for you that had awful, awful Sundays. Okay, they just couldn't have been worse. But to me, it speaks to their greatness that they were able to still punch their ticket to East Lake with these horrible rounds. And now it's going to be great because the public's going to forget about them. The announcers are going to forget about them. It's going to be low pressure for big money for them. Here we go. Corey Connors. He shot 80 yesterday. It's very rare that you see somebody shoot 80 on tour, much less on a massive stage. It's even more rare that he punches his ticket in a tournament environment to the next round. I think it's a positive. I don't think it's a negative because he was able to get the bad one out of his system. He's going to lose any kind of heat that he'll have to take from the media of a potential contender. And he will be able to get into his game. And the 3 before that, folks, the 3 rounds, 75% of his tournament, he's 3 under. Last week at the BMW. That's Corey Connors I'm talking about. So if you want to remember the 80, that's great. I'm going to remember him.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember him for being 3 under and punching his ticket to East Lake. The second guy, Colin Morikawa. He shot 75 yesterday. He shot 5 over. He mailed it in. He had a terrible round. 75% of the tournament, he's +1 at a very, very tough track. And this guy is live because we just know he gets up for money. He gets up for a big role. He gets up for a big spot. He's a forgotten man, liking him. Third man, Nick Taylor. Also shot 75 yesterday. 75% of his tournament, he's +1. There's no shame on a par 70 to be +1 for 3 rounds cumulatively. So it's just the way I think. I think all 3 of those guys are live. Guys I don't like. I want to run this by you, Rich, before, on the spirit of what I'm talking about, the weighted game versus the non-weighted game. Ben Griffin really bothers me. And let me just get this off my chest. He was in the tournament big time teeing off yesterday. Okay, and I've had an axe to grind. You could tell with this guy for a few weeks now, and I don't recognize guys that punch their ticket by playing at the Zurich in a team game. If we're gonna do that, then Nick Hardy, Davis Riley come my way. I mean, I'm not gonna recognize that tournament as a barometer of talent. So I've got a bone to pick. Here's yesterday. He's in the top 15 of this BMW. He's out to just make it to East Lake. That's not the issue. The issue is he going to fight on and be a man at Owings Mill? Okay. Now, what does he do? That's a weighted game he's in, folks. That's what I'm talking about. Tees off at about 1 p.m.-ish, that kind of thing, Eastern time. He comes out and he shoots, was it +6 for the first 3?
He was like 6 or 7 over, 6 over, I think, the first 3.
Yes.
Yeah. And there was the reason that he gave was like the most bizarre thing I've ever heard about. I've never even heard of this. Swallowed a chunk of ketamine and like got overstimulated and had the shakes for the first 3 holes and then just started slugging water so he could kind of get it all out of his system. But then if I remember correctly though, he wasn't he like 7 unders for the last 15 holes?
Yes, but that makes me like him. But Rich, that makes me like him less. Is because what happened is Rich. But follow me through here. If you're going to believe the lunacy about the shaky hands and all that kind of stuff, first off, he would have withdrawn if it was so bad. So let's not use the excuse. You're fine. You played 6 over in the first 3 that were weighted rounds. All of a sudden, you're out of the weighted game. You're playing loose, like you're playing with your best friends at a public muni, and all of a sudden you're 7 under.
It's not that easy, my friend. But I understand what you're saying on Ben Griffin. It's not that easy, no matter where you're at, because there still are consequences where you want to finish going into, and I'm saying this because you still want to give yourself, you want to finish as high up in the FedEx Cup as you possibly can. Even though the top 30 make it, you still want to finish high up. A, there's money involved, but B, there's a lot of pride in that. There's a ton of pride sitting there finishing in the top. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, either 5th or 6th.
Well,
and
Rich,
that to me is pretty. That to me, I mean, to start off that many over par and to come back, that takes some serious stones, because he could have completely packed that round in, and he didn't. So I look at it differently.
okay.
That's why we have different opinions.
Of course. And also, to your point, I think in the back of his brain, he might have been thinking, hey, it's going to come down to me or Gotterup for that last shot at the Ryder Cup. I really think he thinks that. And I'm a Gotterup guy, so I think Gotterup's still in this thing.
Good. I'm looking at he and Novak as potential partners because of what they did at
Zurich. At the Zurich. Okay, fair enough. So that's my problem with Ben Griffin.
Yeah, and I get it. And listen, and there's a lot of times that can happen when you have weighted rounds, like you said, things that count, where guys go out there and they're just not up for it, and this and that, and I get that. I think yesterday with him was a little bit. Now again, I don't know much about the ketamine stuff and blah blah blah, but to have that horrific start and then to finish, I mean, I feel sad for Ricky Fowler, because I know that he had it on the tip of his tongue. He could taste getting to Atlanta, and he finished 3 over the last 7 holes, or 4 over the last 7 holes. I can't remember what. I think it's 3 over. And it's just like, man, you had it. You were 10 under. You were what you needed to do, playing your way in. But then you start thinking about it, and you start going through all that stuff, and it gets to you. It absolutely gets to you. And I'd be surprised if he didn't say that I was thinking a little bit too much about it. I know the finish sucked. I hate to use the choke word, but I think that there is in that instance, when you start thinking about it and you're just trying to finish it off, just trying to play well enough to get into the house. And that's when when you falter a little bit. But, the bogey at 12, but it's kind of back a birdie on 13 was great. Then bogey, double bogey on 14 and 15. You're just like, oh, you can't do that. If he didn't double bogey 15, he probably would have done something on 17 or 18, I think. But he went par. But yeah, that was tough to see. That's where I think, as if I was analyzing like you, that would be something that I would have looked at more. But I mean, he sealed his own fate by not doing it. And I forget what happened to Victor Hovland. Made a putt on 18. It ended up making Akshay back in and Michael Kim out. Is that correct? Sound right?
Correct.
Or, when I'm walking on the ground and it's 95 degrees out there, real feel of about 105, and I'd say I couldn't hardly focus on anything yesterday after the last 9 holes. I'm hearing things that are going on, and I'm just like, I'm watching 2 guys and I'm trying to listen and whatnot, but I didn't get a full sense of what was actually happening.
And my heart goes out, and I'll tell you, my heart goes out to Mike Kim, because Mike Kim, I have feelings for Mike Kim that are exactly the opposite of the way I feel for Ben Griffin. Is that Mike Kim? Wow, does this guy have guts? Okay, it was years ago that he had that moment in the sun in Silvis, Illinois, at the John Deere. Take yourself back, golf nerds out there, world across that are watching, Taking It to the Streets. It was a long time ago. I can't pull out the year, but I want to say 2019, maybe pre-COVID. Okay, he just romped. He looked like he was going. It looked like it was Anthony Kim 2.0. It was going to be the next smooth thing in golf. It was going to be a phenom, and that's how I looked at it when he romped at Silvis. He goes into the doldrums of golf hell. Okay, obviously, just can't make a cut. It goes on year after year. It's amazing that he stayed in the game. and he's been great the last couple of years. He's been great, good as far as I'm concerned. And that was a tough way. He didn't choke on 18. Victor made the putt. Conversely, I love Akshay Bhatia. I don't like the way he played this weekend at all. I don't like backing your way into it. I don't like the way he got into Eastlake via Mike Kim basically doing all the right things on a very tough 18. And it's just my feeling. I bet with my brain. I don't bet with my heart. So if you're listening to this, you always think, oh, he's an Akshay guy. He's an Akshay guy. That's true. I love Akshay Bhatia, but I don't like what I saw this last weekend.
You
surprised him on 17. Think about it, Mike.
the stuff that you're saying.
No, Rich. Think about how Mike doesn't get in and how Akshay does get in. Okay, Akshay had to hit a hole in
Saturday.
Akshay had to nail a hole in one on Saturday. He had to basically put one in the creek on the 72nd hole. This is Akshay I'm talking about.
I didn't even know what happened.
Yeah, it goes. There's that creek off to the left.
On the right hand, I didn't know where you hit into it. I have no earthly idea how.
He survived the creek. He's in the rough. He's very fortunate to get out with a par. Victor's Victor. It ends up screwing Mike Kim, and so it goes. And so it goes. I just feel for Mike Kim, but I don't like the way Akshay played this weekend. I just don't.
Well, let's say making the hole in one is all about luck, anyways. It ain't about skill. Because I know plenty of guys that have made none, and I know plenty of guys that have made 5 or 6 of them. I'm going, really?
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
Beemer, how many hole in ones do you have in your career?
I have 13.
Wow.
I've made 13 of them now.
When was
the last one? Last one was gosh, I don't know how many years ago. It was quite a while ago. It was with my son, and if it's the last hole in one ever, it's great. It's with my son playing in a father-son event, father-son tournament. I made it, and it was awesome.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's celebrating with him. Yeah, it was great.
Beemer, do you agree with me on these guys that I chose as far as taking the pressure off by shooting that clunker on Sunday? It gets it out of their system, and now they move on. Connors, Morikawa, Nick Taylor.
Kind of, but again, though, I also look at the guys that shot 67, and even if they didn't make it in, they at least gave them a taste of it, right? Xander Schauffele didn't have anything all week. I think he put a new putter in just because he could. He knew that he'd had to shoot 59 or something like that. He shot 67 or 66 the final round, to kind of do that. I guess it's because I had so many poor final rounds in my career that I hated it. I hated it. I felt like a failure. I felt like all the good work, all the hard work that I did for 54 holes, I screwed it up in 18 holes because I couldn't finish. And I think that any professional would say, I'd rather be on the outskirts on Sunday and shoot 65. I'd rather be in last place going into Sunday and shoot 65 than being in the top 15 and shooting 78 and ending up in the same position. I just think that there's too many times.
I've taken a total counter position here.
Well, yeah, and I just think that I look at it because listen, there's always something you can learn by every round you played, but B, you can also lose confidence. And I'm telling you, you said that a couple of guys finished their week by shooting 75. That does not bode well. That does not leave your brain that quickly when you step on that first tee on Thursday. It doesn't. There's not enough time. If they're taking a week off, then maybe you can get past it. But shooting 75 on Sunday, Thursday comes around awfully quick. I'd be surprised if those guys played well.
Connors, he shot 80.
That's a lot, man.
I know, Rich.
That's a lot. And again, I know it was a hard golf course to walk, and there wasn't hardly a breath of wind and things like that.
But it's not going to get easier at Eastlake.
It's not going to get any easier at Eastlake, man. And I just think that finishing a tournament poorly, is just, that's why I give more kudos to Ben Griffin by being 6 over through 3 and finishing under par in the round, because listen, he at least sat there and gutted it out. He might have shot himself in the foot, but he made up for it over the next time, and he didn't give up. He absolutely sat there and just said, "I'm not giving in one iota." And 80 on a Sunday, no matter where you're at. Again, it can happen to anybody. It happened to me a ton.
Of course.
But as an analyst, I have to think that there's some sort of, unless there's an injury, there is some sort of, I don't give a shit, and let's get out of here.
Yeah, he kind of a mail it in type of thing.
Sadly, that's what it is a lot of times, you know? And again, I know that I wasn't perfect when I did it because I packed it in too. Shit. So I know what it looks like and I know what it feels like.
Beemer, we'll see you at the Ryder Cup.
I'll see. Yeah, we'll make a time and a place, and we'll go from there. I'm trying to get in front of a hold of my buddy about getting you up there. But yes, I'm confident that it'll happen. But I know you said you got to go to New York anyway. So if you go anyways, then we'll certainly break bread.
Sounds wonderful. Folks, till we meet
Hey, buddy.
again, it will be football season, and we look forward. And thank you, Rich Beem, for joining us all these tournaments. It's been a pleasure and an honor, buddy.
Absolutely. Have me on a football one time. I'll just give you all my picks about, because I like the team colors.
Love it. Love it. Till we meet to go.
Goodbye from St. Pete. And remember, folks, you're only as good as your last trade. So never too high, never too low. Till we meet again.